Hey everyone, Kitch here. Welcome to what is this? Where are we at? Is this a park? So, quick backstory here because it's been about, I don't know, 3 years since the last time I recorded a video. So, still a noob, still working through this. But a park has been half built in those few years, and with Planet Coaster 2 coming out here around the horizon, I thought it would be a good idea to kind of get back into the groove of recording, creating content, because I think that would be a lot of fun to do in Planet Coaster 2. Of course, with a new park. So I just want to kind of jump into this park here, which tentatively in my head is called Woodland Acres, very generic. But that name is not plastered anywhere in the park yet, so it's certainly subject to change. But we're standing here in a soon-to-be parking lot that currently is just a empty concrete jungle pavement here. But just kind of wanted, the goal of this episode is just to, in as short of a time as I can muster, get through the park, give a little bit of a tour, give a quick backstory on how we got here, what we're doing, and then the future episodes will be hopefully just continuing on with the park, and there'll be ordinary episodes with a mix of time lapses, a mix of some real-time stuff, and we'll kind of go from there. So just to kind of, give you a little teaser here from the parking lot, we have a wooden coaster here in the background. We've got drop tower there in the skyline, kind of the entrance. Clock tower there with a boomerang coaster right nearby. We have a big floorless coaster here, and then way in the distance there's a little bit of a mountain launched coaster over there. So we'll kind of explore a little bit of that here, and as we kind of walk around, I'll do the best I can to catch everyone up on what's been going on and what the status of this park is. So, need a park sign here. Kind of have the entrance nailed, but obviously need the sign. At the rate I'm going, that might be the last thing I build because I still don't have an official park name. So we got some tickets and passes in here. Entry area here with the turnstiles. It's pretty small. I think for a park of this size, we might be selling ourselves a little bit short. But the idea of this park is, as we come into the entry main street here, is obviously realism is important to me, so I'm going to try to continue to incorporate that as much as I can. But we want to have a mix here of some kind of old coasters, amusement park feel, kind of that like vintage vibe. But then on top of that, there's going to be a few areas of the park that are a little more highly themed, big budget. So the idea is that this park started off with humble beginnings and maybe grew and is growing and adding additional things as it gains popularity. So entry area here, obviously there's some more work we still need to do on some of these buildings, but you're really greeted right away by this big clock tower centerpiece and this big boomerang coaster right in the entrance of the park. And we call this clockwork. Entrance is over here. I think I'm gonna hold on the cues and the POVs and that kind of stuff just to keep the video a little bit more reasonable in length. If you want me to do a POV or a walkthrough or more detail of any of the rides, I can do that in a separate video. Just let me know what you think about that. But for now, we'll just kind of look at it from the off-ride perspective, just to give you a glimpse. And of course, at the end, once this is on the workshop, anyone can go in here and you can explore in much more detail. Actually, we're gonna go this way first. So as we kind of round the bend here, this right here was the very first building, that very first thing in the park. this kind of set the whole tone for what the palette was going to be. So in this entry area here, we're kind of going for this just sort of rustic wooden kind of wooden tones, stone, very simple, highly detailed but simple in design. I mean, that's really generally the overarching theme for the whole park. With a few exceptions, which will be more highly themed, most of this is going to be pretty generic. The music machine, that's a name I've been carrying for a long time for carousels. It's just kind of my Easter egg for myself. Nice carousel there. This will probably be a gift shop. This is the exit of the boomerang coaster, and then we have a small food stall over here. And then this is kind of a dead end, so there's really no reason to go over there right now. But as we go this way, we kind of enter the first completed area of the park. I call it Historic Grove. None of the areas here really have official names. They're not going to have any big gaudy signs or anything. Actually, I say that, and I'm about to show you a big gaudy sign around this corner. So the names are pretty unofficial, but the idea is this would be the old section of the park. Classic Woody in the back there. We have a nice coffee shop on the corner. We have an ice cream store on the left. And as we come in here, we get this nice shot of the classic zipper, my favorite fairground ride of all time. I don't think anything will ever top it. I mean, it's better than most coasters, if we're being honest. This thing absolutely rocks. And then the lift hill in the background there. So we call this the barn flipper, the zipper that is. Oh, nice timing with the coaster going up. And then here's the big gaudy sign. Me eating my words. So Shady Pier is this area up here. We're gonna check that out in a second. If we round the bend here, we have the ice cream store I pointed out. And then as we walk this way, we get our view of the Wooden Giant, which is the name of the classic wooden coaster. Again, keeping everything super generic, loosely, not really themed on anything other than just classic vintage amusement park, if you will. Little Fry's store on the corner here. Exit to the coaster. This goes back to Shady Pier. We'll get to that in a second. We head this way. Couple food stalls, upper level of the ice cream store. We have a Gulpy there, and then we have what I call the Brick House, which is kind of the first restaurant in the park. Seating area. There's a pretty cool interaction here with the wooden coaster right in the beginning as it comes by. I thought that was pretty fun. Otherwise, yeah. So for the most part in this park, I'm keeping the interiors of buildings to a minimum. Coaster stations and queue lines are going to be the obvious exception. But food stalls and gift shops, I'm trying to keep all that pretty minimal just because you got to cut corners somewhere to get stuff done, I feel like. And that's the one thing where I've done interiors before. They're fun. You can do a lot of cool stuff with them, but especially given Planet Coaster 2 coming out soon and trying to finish this park up as much as I can, I'm gonna spare them, and I think I'm gonna be happy I did so. So exteriors only for the most part. Wooden Giant here, queue kind of winds back through there. There's some overflow queue here. You have to imagine this would have just been packed full of people back when this coaster was in its heyday. So if we go back Shady Pier here, and we'll get a good view of the coaster over here. So this is sort of the kids area with a bunch of just fairground rides. We have another mini carousel, the merry-go-round. We've got the canopy flyers over here. Get a little autosave there. Pretzel stand, cotton candy stand, Lake Breeze. That's our chair ride there, and then in the corner over here we have the Orchard Whirl. So generally just, again, that generic theme, kind of going with that vintage. Oh, we have a popcorn stand over here as well. So the cool thing about this area is you get some really nice views of the lake, which is one of the focal points of the park, and the wooden coaster here in the distance, the turnaround. And then this is actually the area we're going to be working on in episode 1. I guess I'm calling this episode 0 because it's really just a initiation of what this park is all about, and catching everyone up. So this will be kind of the first area of the park, and it's been turning out really well so far, so I'm really excited to show you. But just a classic looper coaster here, definitely inspired by some real life classic loopers, which the classic double loop followed by the double corkscrew in the second half of the ride. So definitely looking forward to showing you more on that. But for now, that's kind of for a future episode. And that's kind of the end of this corner of the park. We have these 3 drop towers rides that I've not done any work on yet other than place them there, and they're kind of going to tower as a focal point from a lot of different perspectives. So if we kind of head back here, hopefully the sound levels are okay. This is going to take me a few videos to really like get back in the groove of things. So I'll learn as I go. I'm not too worried about that, but I'd love to build the community a little bit here and get some more followers as we go along. But otherwise, really, this whole thing of bringing back the YouTube content, it really is, this is how it should be for every content creator. It's really for the joy of making the content more so than the who's actually watching it and all that. But I absolutely love comments, feedback, all that stuff is great, and I keep up with that for sure. So here we have a little Dippin' Dots. This is actually something I recently made. Fun little custom build here, just trying to keep things to a smaller scale. And that's been a lot of fun. So this is sort of the end of the park of where we've built. There's a couple more areas to show you, but this is eventually we're going to work our way over here. In this back corner will be the next episode, or is where we'll start and have probably quite a few episodes fleshing all this out. And then this whole expansive land will be future plans. And keep in mind, ideally finishing this park would be amazing to cap off the Planet Coaster 1 life. But the number one goal is to just make some content, keep building in the game, tie off many areas as I can, and we'll get where we get. And I'll have to just cross that bridge when we get there, of what we do in the future. So heading back here to the entry, we'll go to the other side of the park. So more detail to flesh out here, and then this is sort of like the next plaza that kind of is the gateway into the next little area of the park. So I kind of commented on this already, but the whole idea here is a general woodsy kind of rustic theme for the whole park, and I want to basically manifest that theme in a few different ways, different like sub themes, but make it very subtle where you don't necessarily know. It's not super apparent you're going from one theme to another, but they're still distinct in a way. So like we had kind of the old part of the park. The entry here kind of has its own little architecture style to it, and then as we get through here, you'll see this is different yet still. So this ride still needs a name, I believe, and perhaps a little bit more detail out front here. But yeah, so we get the beautiful swooping drop kind of sight line here of the coaster as we come through. Fire danger extreme, prevent wildfires. So this is sort of kind of your national park like protection, like wildfire, kind of deep forest area. So we have a flat ride here that's going to need a skin and a name. We have some coaster interaction, and there'll be a restaurant over here. So this is all to be completed. And then as we work our way down here, this is still a little bit rough, needs a lot of polish. We start to get to one of the actually completed areas down here. Some pretty cool views of the coaster. This is sort of a terrain coaster. It really winds itself all over this part of the park. So this will be the entrance to the flat ride down here. And then as we work our way through this seating area, scale starts to get really cool here because we're like right underneath this dive loop. I think that's a really fun effect there. And then we get to the station for the coaster, and we call this one Fire Rescue. So the idea here is it's themed as a fire station, in the national park or in the woods here, and uh, the idea is you're going to put out the fires, the wildfires, essentially. So heavily influenced by the roller coaster in real life called Wildfire. Similar colors, similar B&M design terrain coaster. So that's a lot of inspiration from that. It's one of my favorite terrain coasters out there. I had to make a Firehouse subs just because it's so fitting. Not a whole lot of IPs in the park, but that's one of them. And yeah, so station here is pretty neat. Maybe I will take a quick walk of the queue with you on this one. So the entrance is here. You work your way up through some switchbacks into the lower level where we have kind of the area where the firefighters are getting ready, like essentially like the lockers and that kind of stuff, and then through here to this little back courtyard. So a lot of realism going on here. We're right underneath the transfer track, actually. A lot of like maintenance up above. So that I think that's kind of a neat touch. I'm not sure how realistic this is because the maintenance would be done in the shed further on. So this would really just be where the track is moving over and the trains are rolling into the maintenance shed. So I don't know if I think this would be possible, unless there might be some specific reason why you would want to keep this area clear that I'm just not thinking of that would break the realism here. But we'll roll with it. Then we have our classic fireman pole here as we enter into the station. Some awesome ThemeMakers Toolkit fans. I love those. But yeah, so it's kind of a neat like modern generic theme here. It's the architecture is very a lot more metal textures, and it's a little more modern than like some of the other more rustic looking buildings, but it was fun to kind of have that change of pace and style. And you get a really cool view from up here kind of as you're starting the ride off, of all this track twisting around. And I think this is definitely a coaster I'm really happy with, maybe one of my favorite ones I've ever built in the game. And then we I don't know if it's gonna let me jump the track. Oh, it did. So then we even have a little break room down here with where you can get your pictures. Gotta grab some images for that. And then you kind of come right down into the garage where they keep the fire trucks, and this is also where your lockers area is. Before you board, before you get in line, you come over here and get your locker. So we have the fire truck. This would be like your doors, locker rental, concierge person. Got restroom over here, some drinking fountains. So, and then this really massive Cobra roll, which sort of is like the showpiece for the second lake, which is kind of the lower part of the park. So this is all to be created still. But you can really see that Cobra roll just really stands out. I think especially from this other part of the park, as we'll walk through here, you'll be able to see some pretty cool views of that. So this is going to be like your big budget, high theme area. We're going for like kind of an elven dwarf sort of fantasy idea. I even made up some kind of fake symbols here, like to represent letters. So this actually spells the Iron Mountain. So that's the idea here. Got this large mountain, this coaster that is basically a replica of Mr. Freeze at a few different Six Flags parks in the US. Pretty much the best I could to do a replica of it, except built around this mountain, which of course would be a lot of big budget theming, rock work. Think like Expedition Everest at Disney World type of theming here. So this is super heavy budget. Park must have been doing great. We're gonna say this was probably like the last area of the park that was built And also, I just wanted to build something cool, and this was sounded fun. So, a lot to do here still, but we also have a river rapids, kind of that comes down right where by the large palace city. And I'm trying to do a little bit of forced perspective here, so like these trees are just sunken into the rock to make them look like they are far away. Same with the mountain peaks are kind of crafted to appear as if they're larger than they are, like in the distance. I think it works actually pretty well for considering that's not an easy thing to accomplish in a game like this, but um, definitely something I'm trying to keep in mind. So same with these. These aren't as big as they look, but I think just trying to keep them a little steeper and scaled accordingly is helps kind of deliver that immersion. So this will be the River Rapids entrance here, um, and we're actually going to have another wooden terrain coaster that kind of starts up here and goes all the way through this area. But still a lot to do here, so there'll be a lot of episodes if I get to this point in the park, and I can go through some more of the vision and details and stuff in this area. So there's not a whole lot to see, just kind of get the idea of the theme, what I'm going for. And then quick peek, this will be the entrance to the coaster, just a little idea of the theming we're going for here. So this is definitely like that dwarf mining idea. And we actually, the queue goes into these mine shaft like tunnels, which are kind of fun. Definitely very disorienting, and that's the idea. So that's pretty much where we're at. If I kind of get us out of here, I think I'm just gonna actually take us from to the above perspective. So this is the park. This is Woodland Acres as it currently stands. Parking lot entrance. We have the boomerang coaster right in the front. This is definitely inspired by Six Flags Fiesta Texas, my home park, where they have a boomerang coaster right there when you come into the park. And then we've got the kind of the old historic classic area in this corner. A couple areas to be developed out here, and then there's the terrain coaster, kind of national park vibe over here, and then the high big budget kind of elven dwarven area in the corner. So another big project over here is a dark ride log flume that I'd actually started for a separate contest in Movement Little Sox's Discord, and never really got to finishing it. Kind of fell out of the game for a few weeks and determined it was never going to happen. Didn't have time, but I have brought it into this park because the theme fits perfectly. So we'll see if we can finish that up and incorporate it. But that's where we're at. So this is the park as it stands. The next episode is going to be launching right into continuing on building as if you guys have been here with me the whole time. I know it's kind of weird jumping into it like that, but hopefully everyone's down to go along for the ride for wherever we get to in it, and just we'll take it an episode at a time. So next episode we'll jump into this area, starting with the construction of this bridge, and I got quite a few updates ready to go for this area. Then we'll go from there. So thanks everyone for sticking around and taking a little tour of the park. Let me know if you want to see any POVs of any of the coasters. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one.